Welcome to the Complete Fitness Podcast with Core 4 Complete Fitness. Your episode is starting in 3, 2, 1.
Hello, peoples. Happy Wednesday to you all. It is July 10th, the day before, well, when you guys see this, the day before my smallest child turns 4. And she's not even home.
4, that's great. That's crazy.
I know. Wild. But like always, guys, before we get in today's podcast, if you could please subscribe to this bad boy, whether you're listening to us on iTunes or Spotify or Audible or watching us on YouTube, there's a little subscribe button there. And if you could please press that baby, you will be alerted right away when a new episode drops. That way you don't have to scroll through and go, crap, I forgot to watch these. I missed the last 5 episodes. You'll be up to date on everything, and we can continue to grow the podcast and help you guys out through this. Now, today, we want to talk a little bit about the reason why anybody probably exercises or eats relatively healthy, and that is to see progress, right? To move from point A to point B. And the problem nowadays is people are extremely glued to the scale. And we tell this to people inside of our gyms all the time. The scale is probably one of the quickest tools you can use to measure progress, but it isn't always the most accurate tool you can use to measure progress. It's kind of a good benchmark to have to kind of see, okay, I'm in my little bubble, or I gained a little bit, let's dial things back, or hey, I want to get 10 pounds off, making sure things are moving in the right direction. But if you're constantly glued to the scale and you're checking this thing every single day, depending on what you ate, depending on your stress level, how much sleep you got, how much salt you ate, how much water you drank, if there's food in your belly still, if you haven't gone to the bathroom, all these things are going to make the scale go up. Doesn't mean that you did anything wrong. You can have a squeaky clean diet, and all of a sudden you go, crap, I don't know what I did. I got to do, 100 miles an hour going the opposite direction, where if you just stay consistent over time, that's going to lead to results. Now, what we recommend for people, don't completely neglect the scale, but you don't need to check it every single day. I would recommend if you're a scale person and you just like to have kind of like a benchmark to go off of, once or twice a month, probably tops. Don't check it every single day. Heck, don't even check it every single week. But there's things that you can do in between the lines, combined with that are still going to show you progress and still going to show you success. Things like how your clothes are fitting. Are they looser? Things like looking at your inches. Things you can look at inside the gym. Oh my gosh, 30 seconds of burpees used to kick my butt. Now I can kind of get done, with 40 burpees in 30 seconds instead of doing only 20 burpees in 30 seconds. If you're able to add on more weight, if you can do more push-ups, if you can go faster, if you're not as exhausted after the workout, all those things are success stories, guys, that can be tied along with the scale. But when we do our shred program, our weight loss program for our members, we always tell them, if you guys are watching, you can kind of see my fingers going on YouTube, but you might have a week where the scale drops 3 or 4 pounds, but your inches stay stuck. And then the next week, your inches drop a couple inches, but then the scale stays stuck. So they always kind of piggyback off of each other. It's not just you press play and everything kind of just goes, okay, everything drops at once I hit play. They always kind of bounce around. They'll usually never be 100% synchronized. But if you're constantly glued to the scale as your only tracker for progress or measuring progress, you're going to drive yourself absolutely insane.
And the biggest problem is most people's goal for the scale is based off of them when they were like 18 or something. Like you're not even comparing to you as a grown man or grown woman, and you need to it's just a silly thing to be so hyper focused on. Now, if you're somebody who is 400, 500, 600 pounds and you need to have this life altering hundreds of pounds loss in order, obviously you're going to be checking the scale all the time. It's going to be but also shirt sizes, clothes sizes are changing just as well. Like you can still have all of the success without knowing the number. So it's just like anything in the fitness and health world where it can be, you have to watch with balance. You can use it and it can be very motivating. You could lose 5 pounds one week and you go, hey, I'm killing it, and then do the exact same thing, work out the exact same way, hydrate the same way, eat the same way, literally verbatim, and the next week lose 2 pounds. And then people are so much more inclined to just go, it's not working, I'm giving up. When the week before, when you saw the scale, it's basically setting yourself up for a yes or no, right? It's giving yourself the keep going or stop option, where if you don't even have that in your face and you're just doing it for the sake of doing it for your health, and you know you're feeling better, that's when the whole lifestyle long-term thing comes into play. And then all of a sudden you look back a year from now and you go, oh wow, I'm 40 pounds lighter or whatever or something. And it's stuff that you don't need to see the scale number in order to know that you're feeling better.
You can feel it.
Yeah, you know. And then and it's those lofty expectations. Like, we'll have women come in the gym all the time who are, when I was in high school I weighed 100 pounds, and it's like, well, you've had 4 kids, you're 55, there's no point for you to weigh 100 pounds. One, B, why? I mean, what are we doing? I mean, what's this obsession about this number of, if you get to 100 pounds, are you going to walk up to somebody and go, guess what the scale says? Guess how much I weigh? No. But if you start looking good and your muscles are toned and you're feeling good, are you going to start wearing a tank top in the summer? Are you going to start being in the front of the pictures and not hiding behind your kids? And are you going to be more confident? Are you going to feel better? Are you going to, be more inclined to do things and stay out later and meet people and go to class reunions and all the stuff that you've been avoiding? Yes. So, I mean, what are we doing? Don't let it deter you. If it's a motivating factor and you can honestly look at it, and if it goes up a little, you go, okay, back on the horse. And if it goes down a little, you go, great, staying on the horse. Then by all means, use the scale as a factor. But once it starts being kind of a catalyst for like a reminder of, this doesn't happen really quick, this isn't consistent, it's almost reminding you of that, right?
It's almost like you're a reminder of defeat all the time.
Yeah, it does more of that than of positive, because that's,
I did okay, but I wasn't as good as last week.
Right. So all of a sudden you feel this negative thought, guilt cloud over all of the hard work you've done. And workouts, weeks aren't built the same. Workouts aren't built the same. Days aren't built the same. Some days you're really hungry. Some days you're not hungry. Some days you're more emotional. You're more inclined to just eat whatever. Some days you have a birthday party. Some days your workouts just suck. You just suffer through them. Some days you skip them. This is life. Nobody is ever just going to wake up one day and go, I'm working out for 3 hours, 7 days a week from here until I die.
I got 100% battery life all day long on myself.
I'm only eating chicken and broccoli for the rest of my life again. It's like, no. Okay, Christmas is coming, your birthday's coming, the weekend, for Christ's sake, is coming. Like just relax and do it for the health. Don't focus on it.
Yeah, and I think like what you said, when I was like 22, 23, I weighed like 170 pounds. And now there's no way I could get down to 170. Part of it is like you're exercising, you're building muscle, but I'm like, okay, I still, feel good in my clothes, or if I have to throw on a bathing suit, I don't feel like gross. But I'm like, 195 or 200, somewhere in that range now. But I couldn't imagine trying to stay back at 170 just for the sake of being that weight. Like, I would rather be where I am now, probably have a little bit more muscle, feel good still, than stay completely glued to the scale for no apparent reason.
Sure.
It's like the number almost becomes arbitrary because you're like, I don't really care what it says. I know if it creeps up a little bit, I got to do some damage control to kind of get back in my wheelhouse. And same thing, if I dip too low, my energy starts to tank. I don't have good workouts. I'm too lethargic. So you kind of find just this sweet spot where you're like, okay, I feel good. I look good. I'm confident. My clothes fit. Everything is good to go. Where if you just constantly shoot for this number, you'll drive yourself insane, especially if it's something that you were at, like you said, when you were 18, 19, 20 years old.
Yeah. I find that the most common is that's what we relate to. We go, oh, if I look like I did in high school, it's like, you mean a kid? What are we doing?
Who
Well,
eats Taco Bell every day and
if
had
I was the
pizza for
same
dinner
weight,
and cereal for breakfast.
it's just kind of a weird thing that we do. Like also, like your 23 example, you were still growing. You weren't even a man yet. You
Yeah.
know, you were still growing. You were building muscle that you have now that you didn't have then. So there's what's all of that weight? Is that just make believe? Like I don't know. It's kind of this weird. Everyone has these high school highlight tapes in their head, and nobody, in my opinion, was as cool, including me, as we thought we were. You know, we didn't have it all going on the way we thought we did. I was this, I was that. It's like okay,
You did have those armpit muscles, though, at my bachelor party.
I did have armpit muscles. I still got them. They're not gone. They're just covered a
Young
little
man
more.
was yoked for a while. The uh,
I was.
the other thing is, too, guys, like I'll give you an example. So we had a lady who's been our member for almost since we've opened now. Um, and she first started working out, and probably like 3 months in, during one of the workouts, she got like super duper lightheaded, just weird. And it was early in the morning, and so I'm like, okay, maybe you didn't eat enough at dinner time, or it's in the morning, maybe you're dehydrated, didn't drink any water. And I was like, just kind of take a chill pill and see how you feel tomorrow. Maybe you're getting sick or whatever it is. So turns out she went to her doctor a couple days ago. She had a doctor's appointment, or a couple days ago, back years ago, a couple days after the incident. And they said, have you been like exercising and taking care of yourself? And they said, yeah. Or she said, yeah. So they go, you don't need your medication anymore. They said, you've been exercising, and now with the exercise and your blood pressure meds, you don't need the meds anymore. So you were just kind of bottoming out. So they go, the good news is keep exercising. You can go off your meds. And, but that's a lot of like the behind the scenes stuff that people don't realize
That's so awesome.
is, yeah, you can't see it per se, but internally, the stuff that's happening, that's keeping your body healthy, that's keeping your heart healthy, that's keeping you off medication, that's making sure your blood pressure isn't high, that your cholesterol isn't high, that you're, not a diabetic. All those things play a part. And when people just get super glued to the scale, I think they fail to see kind of like what's behind the curtain of how much success they actually have. There was like a study, I forgot what it was, but they did like a side by side placebo thing. And they took one person who was like a couch potato, let's say, and they were 225 pounds. And they took a person who maybe wasn't in the best shape yet, but they were 225 pounds as well, but they exercised. Maybe their diet wasn't the cleanest. Maybe they still had some work to do. And the person's labs, just from the person who exercised, even though they were the same height and weight, their lab work was like exponentially better. So even though you can't physically see it, internally, the stuff that you're doing to make your body healthier for years and years to come, unless you go to a doctor and get blood work every month, you're not going to know this stuff unless you check in once a year. But that's kind of the stuff I think people really do take for granted, is when you get so hyper fixated on just what the scale says, there's probably 20 other ways that you can see, oh my God, I'm making leaps and bounds progress. It just might not be something that I can physically see right now, or something that just the scale isn't telling me. But if I check my clothes, if I check my inches, if I look at my workouts, I can see that things are still moving in the right direction, and eventually the scale will just catch up to all that stuff.
Yeah, it's like, if you ate only Skittles and only had 1,000 calories of Skittles a day, theoretically you could lose weight, but you're incredibly unhealthy. So what are we
You'd
doing?
feel like shit all the time.
It's like, oh, but I'm losing weight. It's like, yeah, but you are a zombie. B, your blood work and blood sugar and this and that and all of the nutrients your body needs to survive. There's no way you feel good. There's no way you are good. Like, so I don't know. Health in general is such a complex thing because it always just goes hand in hand with image, right? It's image. You want to look ripped. I do bicep curls so my biceps look good, so other people see me and they go, that guy's got great biceps. It's like, then all of a sudden it's lost. Once it's for the appearance of others, or it's for the this or for the, if we can, anybody can really master the idea of this is just a healthy thing that people since the beginning of time have been designed to do. And if we look around the world, we realize something's going on. Everyone's heavier. There's more knee and back and this and hip replacements going on more than ever. But is it because we're not doing what we're supposed to be doing? Yes. Like there are laws of science of what a human being is, where regardless on your faith or religion or spirituality or whatever, like we are carbon based mammals living on Earth. Like we have to abide by some rules of science, right? We do have rules. We can't just eat Skittles and Pop Tarts and Doritos and ice cream and just think we're gonna feel okay and live forever. You can't. It's just not real. So eventually something's got to give, and unfortunately it's too late. Fortunately it's not too late, but a lot of times it feels too late for people where they're 100 pounds overweight. They have bad knees, so it's harder for them to work out because they're in pain. But it's like, well, to get that pain alleviated, you need to take some weight off of your body. So you take some weight off of that joint. It's just, and it becomes this circle of issues.
Everything is helping everything.
Yeah. So the faster we can become more health focused, I had this thing on Facebook. I said, like, we wake up every day when we don't want to. The alarm goes off and we go, ugh, gotta go to work because I gotta keep my job, because I gotta keep making money for myself, my family, to keep up with the Joneses, whatever your motive is for money. But yet we wake up and it's time to go to the gym and we can quickly go, it's just my body, it's just my health. I'll skip that. And it's
I can do it tomorrow.
It's because it's not quick. Like you could lose your job in 2 weeks if you start doing that. You're not gonna die in 2 weeks from not working out or eating like shit. You're gonna pack on 5-10 pounds and you're gonna feel bad, but you're not gonna die most likely, unless you really eat something crazy. So there's not like an immediate, hey, stop doing what you're doing, get back on the horse. There's no quick tell, like in this job example where your boss would call you and say, if you don't start coming to work, you're fired. And then all of a sudden you go, oh, light bulb, I'm going to start working hard. There's none of that. There's that. And we rely on a lot of the exterior motives sometimes. And so that's why it's so important to get the inner monologue and those intrinsic values and to spend time meditating, thinking, well, however you do it, to go, I need to do this for me, for my family, because, we look at 70, 80, 90 years old and we go, oh, that's forever away. I'll be fine. It's like, but it's what we do now that matters then.
Yeah.
It's this, if we relate it to job again, what if we just stop working and go, yeah, but I'm still going to retire when I'm 65. No, the hell you're not. You're working now so that you can retire then, right? You're putting away money. You're doing all of the smart stuff now, grinding it out now for then. It's the same thing with health, right? We show up, we take care of our body.
It's like the tacked on interest thing. How you put money away and it accumulates and accumulates and accumulates and it grows and it grows. Right. And your health does the same thing.
Yes. The number one problem why people struggle getting up and down off the floor is because they stop getting up and down off the floor. If you never stop, you will never stop. You don't have, once a day, when you're 85 years old, if once a day you go, I have to get down on the floor and get back up, then guess what? You are still somebody who can do it. And God forbid you fall or this or that. Things that become very dangerous as we age. And that's talking like real elderly. But if you're a heavy person and you fall, you can't just get up. I mean, it can be very scary. You can be 40 years old and 200, 300 pounds overweight with nobody around to see you. And it can be incredibly life-threatening. And it's obviously the weight is hindering it, but it's because you're not moving. Like I've said before, you can be a big, heavier, quote unquote, obese person and be athletic and be able to move. And that's great.
Like Chris Farley. He was doing backflips and cartwheels and
that's a great example. Yes, he's right. Now, not the best example because he did die.
Drug overdose and killed himself, but
But as far as, yeah, there's a difference between never using a muscle and sitting all day and letting it just weigh on you, and then all of a sudden mundane things, walking up the stairs is like, I got to plan my day around it. If I forget something upstairs, too far. I'm just not getting, we don't even have stairs. I live in a ranch, but, if there's something in the other room, you just go get it. Something small and mundane like that is challenging if you aren't taking care of yourself. And it's like, well, let that be a motivating factor. Go, okay, when I am 80, 90, I'm not going to, I don't want everything to be hard. That's when I have some sense of freedom, hopefully. You're not working, hopefully. You have your family that you've built. You have kids, you have grandkids, you have great grandkids. That's what you live life for. Like, so if 30 minutes of exercise a day and monitoring what you eat 80% of the time is the penance you pay to have a happy, ride into the sunset, to me,
that's a
it's a
small
no-brainer.
price to pay.
To me, it's a no-brainer, right? You do a lot of work. You work 10-hour days, 12-hour days, 8-hour days for 40 years in order to just have enough money to retire. I mean, the reason I do that is because it's just a good comparison of time, right?
Yeah.
And so when you think about all the hours you work and you're away from family, friends, doing what you want to do, you're sacrificing all of that time. If someone said you had to do that to maintain a healthy body, okay, I get why that would be hard. People are saying you need to do 1/15 of that, So,
Yeah.
and for some reason it's not enough. But we go, but I'll get on these pills that's going to help me lose weight, or I'll just do this fad diet for 3 months and then I'll go off it and gain it all back again. It's just kind of like, well,
They try to undo the past 15 to 20 years in, 10 weeks, essentially.
right.
And you're like, it's going to take a little bit longer than that.
And it's not about the subtraction, it's not about, oh, I got in this habit of eating pizza every day, so I need to subtract pizza. It's like, well, how about you think about adding? Okay, I'm going to add walking 3 miles a day. And also with this pizza, I'm going to have a chicken breast. And then as you add these things, there's no more room for the other things, right? It's subtraction by addition. As you add it, you don't have time to sit on the couch and order DoorDash because that's your walking time. You don't have time, to whatever, sit around and snack because you're meal prepping for the next morning. You're cooking, you're up, you're doing stuff. I don't know. It just, there's a lot of ways to think about it. And it always kind of comes full circle to the weight obsessed and scale obsessed that ends up doing more negative than positive. And I'm sorry, I'm kind of just hogging this right now. I'm ranting. But
have at it.
I think, I lost what I was going to say. It was a good thing. I lost it. I'll think about it.
All right. I got one. So there was I want to tell this story when we started. I forgot it. But there was a podcast I was listening to, and it was I forgot which one it was, but one of the comedians had a tour in Europe. And he goes, I was over there for about a month doing these shows. And he goes, everybody in Europe compared to Americans they're much smaller. And he goes, part of it is just health-wise, they're up, they're moving, they don't take a car unless they absolutely have to. It's just kind of a more active society. And he goes, you don't really see it when you go over there. You're just everybody's lean, everybody looks like they're in good shape. And they're just kind of moving around all day. And he goes, the biggest culture shock was coming home. He goes, I flew from Europe into Atlanta. And he goes, I get off at the Atlanta airport. And he's like, oh my God, everybody is double the size.
Wow.
And he's like, you didn't realize, because I didn't really see any big obese people over in Europe. You have a couple of them, but the vast majority of people are in pretty decent shape. And he goes, you don't really think much of it. But he goes, flying back here, it's a complete 180 where the majority of people are big or they're overweight and you occasionally have the person sprinkled in that's, in somewhat decent shape. And he goes, it just goes to show you, you become so accustomed to the way the world is that you're just like, this is how everybody looks. This is what everybody does. And it's only kind of like through your own lens that you're seeing this. There's a whole nother side of the world that, there's countries in Europe or places in Asia or tribes in Africa that nobody has the problems that we have.
Right.
And a lot of that is just because they're active people. Their diets are different. They're constantly moving. They're up from sun up to sundown, where we've completely kind of flipped that on its head, living where we are now. And part of it is just, the nature of the beast now is jobs. You're there in front of a computer for 8 or 9 hours in a row. You're sitting in the car. You're sitting for dinner. You're sitting when you get home, and we're just not moving our bodies enough. But you can see how it kind of spills over into everything else. When you're more tired because you're heavy, the last thing you do is want to exercise, and it has kind of this snowball effect where it just grows and grows and grows till it feels like you're at that point where you're like too far gone. And then you beat yourself up for it, and then you're like, well, I don't want to start now. I'm already 50 or 60 years old. What's the point?
Right. I always think I always like to find, like jobs that involve a lot of, manual labor. We went to the Kensington farm this weekend, and there was this guy who was like walking back, getting the cows because it was time to eat, and then like a bunch of construction on my road for the last, and like all of these people, I know maybe a third of them work out regularly, but all of them are. There was no like real heavy construction worker. And it's just like it's just because that is their 8 hours. It's they're on their feet. They're standing with a sign, slow, stop, slow, stop. It's not like they're everyday roofing or coal mining or anything, which is another job. But it just like you find like the construction or contractors, they always just tend to be, you know, slim or thin or whatever the word you want to use, and it's just like, okay, well this is just because of their life. That's what they spend their job doing. They don't have to go to the gym every single day. And the truth is, you don't, which is opposite of what we want to say. But if you are just the society, we have jobs that are sitting in front of a screen, like you said, and we're not supposed to sit in front of anything. We're not. We're hunters and gatherers. Hunters involves moving, hunting. Gatherers involves moving, gathering. Like it's, yeah, it is that, tribal and old to go back to when we just think of the foundation of what we are. Like we look back at the history of sharks and we know what a shark diet is, and we know the way that they eat and the way that they swim and the way that they do this and to do that, and they all just do it, right? Sharks don't have an obesity problem. Sharks don't have a depression problem. Sharks don't have, they just shark, right? We have more complex brains, so we're able to kind of decide what we want, yet that is something we don't get a choice over, really. We've lost the priority, and we don't get to with the way the world is and the way jobs are and the way we just are sitting down and doing our work most of the time. We don't have the option to not prioritize movement time. We have to go, this is the time of my day that I move because this is the time of my day that I'm not, on top of the time that I'm sleeping, on top of meal time, on top of, we have to do that, and not enough people do.
Now that you say that, there's a group of dudes that go to our Saturday skate that there's like 4 or 5 guys that all do construction together, and they all look exactly the same.
Do they?
But it's
Yeah.
because they all have the same job. They're all outside, they're moving stuff, they're doing concrete, taking barriers, putting them down, building stuff. But
It's their form of bodybuilding. If you look at
yeah,
bodybuilders that are on a physique competition, their bodies look way different than CrossFitters. Their bodies look way different than marathon runners. Their bodies look way different than gymnasts. That like people look the same. It's not accidental. I was just actually just talking with somebody, and she said that she was at a party this weekend and they were complimenting her arms. They were like, "Oh, so and so has these nice arms," and I was like, "Did you tell them you worked for them?" And she was like, "No, they were just like, blah 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 blah," and it was funny. Like we were laughing. It was lighthearted, but it was kind of like a reminder of people don't. kind of comprehend that nobody's just born ripped or really lean or shredded, or like it's a conscious effort every day. They consciously are moving. These construction guys, they look that way because that is what they're doing, you know? So it's interesting.
Get out
It's
and move your body.
it's really basic. We can simplify it and move, move and fuel.
Break a sweat. Eat a relatively healthy diet. And no
Yeah.
matter what your goals are, I guarantee you they will always, it might not be in the timeline that you wanted it to, but I guarantee you everything will always catch up to the point where you want it inside of that bubble.
Well, this is what I wanted to say. It finally came back to me. Not every single thing involving health and fitness is progress oriented. You know, you don't have to do it just for progress. You don't have to do it just because you're trying to lose weight. You don't have to do it just because you want bigger biceps. You know, like maybe you do it because you do it. Just like you could do your job and you are a dad and you are a mom and you are a friend and you are a daughter and you are a son, whatever. That sometimes it's just part of what your life is, you know, and when we zoom out, we have progress every day. But when we zoom in, no, you don't have progress every day. You have months, you have holiday time, you have this, you have that, you have times we're really down, you know, we have life is challenging. There's real emotional parts, there's real non-emotional parts, there's happy parts, there's sad parts. So it's never going to be the same. And if you attack every workout with I gotta have progress or it's a failure, you are not going to do well. It's just not going to stick because that's not how it happens. And it's the old Tom Brady example I use. I just saw, you know, he's like fifth all time interceptions.
He sucks. Ain't no Jared Goff.
But I'm just saying, like, okay, what are we doing? Yeah, he's the best. He's whatever. He's the winner. He's like, yeah, he holds a huge record for interceptions. So that was a lot of times he is not done well. Now, a lot of it's because he's played for so long, but still, it's just, I don't know, silly. But I got off on a tangent because all I think about is football. But yeah, sometimes you're doing it just to do it. Sometimes you're doing it because not doing it is a step backwards, and you just don't want to go backwards.
Yeah.
You
And
know?
even like that, just for your own peace of mind to go, I did something worthwhile today. I moved the needle in some fashion, or, you know, your mood is better, or you had a shitty day at work, or you're upset about something, and you're like, God, I just need to get this feeling out or this energy out of me. And 9 times out of 10, that's just what it takes. You just have to kind of get like the frustration out of your body or whatever thing is pent up and just blow it off and go, okay, I exhausted myself. I feel good again. And everything is ready to go. On one of the last Rogan podcasts, I think he was talking about this, but he said, as far as workouts, he goes, I don't go over anything that's 70 pounds now. And he goes, I used to with like dumbbells and stuff. And he goes, but when I did, he's like, I would push it so hard, be exhausted the next day, have to take a day or two off, push it super hard again because I felt bad for missing a day or two, and then be exhausted again. So he goes, now he's like, I basically work at 70 to 80% of what I know I can like completely max out. And he goes, every day I feel great. Every day I
Yep.
feel fantastic. I'm not killing myself in the gym every day. I don't feel completely drained after a workout. But part of that kind of piggybacks on what you said, where if you have to, you know, you're not always going to do it just to completely redline your progress. Sometimes you're doing it just to do it, and
Yep.
when you can do it more than you're not doing it days in a row, all of a sudden you're like, hey, I finally reached my goal or where I'm happy.
Right. Yeah, I think that's so huge. That's a good point. And you know, now that I think about it, that's what I've been doing lately too. And I think that's a good example of just what fitness is. You're doing it for so long and hit it really, really hard for some times, then switch to training. I'm more focused on running for a long time, and then I'm less focused on running, focused on lifting, Olympic lifting, more focused on hit classes, body weight stuff, and you're always kind of shifting and adjusting and and yeah, you don't have to be redlining going all out and compounding where you were last time. Or last time I did 10 reps. So today I got to do 11. It's just like, well, sometimes you do 8, and that's okay because you were there, you know. I don't know.
Agreed.
It's the overall health mindset shift. It's my job. It's what we do. It's the number one answer when people go, "What have I got to do? I just can't come in. I hope this works for me." The easy answer is, well, you got to give it a lot more time and thought and effort and let it become a bigger part of your life than it is, because it needs to become a lifestyle where you prioritize your body, God forbid. And when I say that out loud, I always go, "Oh, why is this not normal?"
It's
And
so
I'm not
easy.
like some crazy ripped and shaped guy. I have a very, very normal body. That's how I would describe myself. I'm a very average, and it's just like, well, hopefully, God willing, barring some whatever, I will be able to continue to move for a while.
That's all we ask.
That's all we ask.
That's the goal. But what else, peoples? You got anything else, Evie boy?
No, I caught a mole today in the gym.
Oh yeah, I sent a message to our group text right before. Last year we caught a mouse
You guys
hiding
had
in
one?
the video game machine. Scared the shit out of the
Ah,
930 crew.
yeah. We had a nice. Chelsea saw it this morning when she showed up, apparently, and then I had this lady run into my office and go, "There's a mouse." And I went, "Okay." And I got out there, and then I couldn't find it, and then I trapped it in the bathroom, and it was 1-on-1. Closed the door behind me.
A UFC cage, basically.
Cage match. You want to know what's weird? Is it went up in the trash can. Do you have the same trash cans as us? Silver, like
Silver with the
stainless.
lid.
Yeah. So there, if you look at the bottom, not that you will, but underneath there's like a hollow rim on the outside, so it's like solid underneath, but there's like a gap, and it was in there. Anyway, I turned it over and rolled it around. It finally came out, and I caught it in a bucket, and I felt very accomplished. Cute little guy though, a little
I was
mole.
gonna say he was adorable. I feel bad for him now.
It's cute. I
Man
didn't
just
kill
wanted
him.
a home.
I moved him gently and sweetly to the field next door. Hopefully, it's
And then
not one of those
beheaded him in front of his family.
where I beheaded him. I hope it's not one of those things where you go where they're like, "Oh, if you want to get rid of a mole, you have to move it 50 miles away. Otherwise, it's going to find itself back." Because I
Taylor
literally
would know.
walked.
I can ask her tomorrow.
Okay, well, if it's back tomorrow, it's back tomorrow. I'll catch it
You may
again.
have a pet.
I'll
But
catch it again.
what else, peoples? If you need anything supplement-wise to help progress yourself in any of the fashions that we talked about, whether it's the scale, whether it's your clothes, everything in between, we got the best stuff on the planet. We have vegan protein, we have whey protein, we have BCAAs, we have a new extreme beet pre-workout that I
No,
thought would be weird, but I tried it yesterday and it's pretty darn good.
I didn't know that. Beet's so good for you.
I
Did
know
you
it's
know
got a
that?
ton of good benefits for you, and
It's a pre-workout.
it's a pre-workout. The old
Oh,
pre-workout is done, and now we have the extreme beat formula, so you get a little bit extra health
cool.
benefits in there for you.
Happier
Um, But
for
what
sure.
else? If you watch or listen to the podcast, if you use the code word podcast at the checkout at core4supplements.com, you will save 10% off of everything. And the best thing of all, if you spend over $100, you get free shipping on everything as well. So if you want to try the new Extreme Beat formula, you're more than welcome to. If you want to try the whey protein, you're more than welcome to. Everything is delicious, I promise you, and everything will make you feel like $1,000,000. Again, that's core4supplements.com. Use code word podcast at the checkout to get your savings and spend over $100, and it'll ship all to your door for free. But that is all, peoples.
Like, subscribe, please.
Like and subscribe, behave yourselves, and we'll see you all next week. Adios.